All right. Okay, everybody, welcome. My name is Kyle Burns. I'll be facilitating the organizational anti-racism webinar today. I'll introduce myself in just a couple minutes here real quick, and then run through the Pushing Against Racism self-assessment tool that we've concocted using some materials from other organizations and kind of just made a skateboarding version of it that we find really useful, and we think other people might as well. And then we'll open it up to our guests that we have here today, Susie Halsell, Alberto Santos, and Tim Van Asdonk. And then I have some questions I'll pose to them, and then we'll just kind of open it up to discussion at the end. And if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat for the end, or when we're in just the open question period, just raise your hand or start speaking. We'll figure it out as we go. All right. Like I said, my name is Kyle Burns. I was born and raised in Iowa, United States. I don't know if any of you may have heard of the skateboard photographer Sam McGuire. We grew up in the same town together. We were best friends growing up. He recently did a skate-a-stand talk. Go check it out if you have the chance. My grandmother migrated to the US from Ireland in the 50s, initially to Boston, then California. So my mother grew up in California actually before moving to Iowa. I've lived, worked, gone to university, skateboarded in places all over the United States: Minneapolis, New York, New Jersey, all over California, San Francisco, Oakland, Monterey. I lived in Biloxi, Mississippi. I also lived in Italy for 4 years, in northern Italy, kind of between Venice and Trieste. I lived in South Dakota, and now I live in Boston, Massachusetts. I've been here about a year. I've been skateboarding in all these places and working with people from all over the world, from many different backgrounds and many different fields. I worked in academia. I've worked in schools, restaurants, pretty much anything you can imagine. I've never been very good at skating. I've never been sponsored or anything, but I've enjoyed it the whole time. I find my pop is getting lower and lower to the ground. It's like the gravitational pull just seems to be getting stronger and stronger as I age, but I still enjoy it. And every time I go out, I meet cool people from all over the place. I have degrees in urban education, social studies education, and American intellectual and cultural history. I taught a little bit of American history at a university in New Jersey for a little while. When I was a teenager, I worked with a lot of the local kids that we were friends with all at the time. We built 3 public skate parks in Iowa. We're working with city councils on projects like that. And so we got some of that experience. We also had a lot of kind of like illegal spots in warehouses and whatever, abandoned parking lots, what have you. I was also involved in kind of like punk rock, hardcore, underground music scenes. We had like our own kind of do-it-yourself venues for that as well, and met people from all over the world doing that kind of stuff. Now I work for the United States federal government doing equal employment opportunity work. I process discrimination in the workplace complaints, and I facilitate and do mediations for workplace disputes, and then do some kind of education and training type workshops as well. I'm a husband and a father. In the way in the United States race is discussed, at least, my wife is Black. My son is Black. He's 3 years old. As they say, I'm outnumbered in the house. I'm 41 years old. I've been volunteering time to work on Pushing Against Racism projects for about a year now. And I'm consistently impressed, excited, and inspired by the people that I've encountered through the work so far. Everyone's been very kind, warm, doing great things, and full of great insights. I'm very thankful to the guests that have shown up to discuss their experiences today, and for all the guests who are also chiming in today as well. Thank you all for your time. And at this point, I believe we'll jump into the PAR self-assessment tool, which can kind of just serve as like a jump-off point for today. It should be up. Everyone should be able to see it. And you can access through any of the Pushing Against Racism online material. It's essentially just a tool that you can use in your own organizations to kind of get conversations going, to hold yourselves accountable for what some of the principles that this organization is founded and begun to work on in general. So there's 4 characterizations that you can kind of think of where you might be in your organization in terms of how you can become principled toward the goals that you might have in mind for being more anti-racist in an intentional way in your own organization. So there's 2 sides here. There's fear motivated and values motivated. Ideally, you'll move closer and closer toward the principled values motivated quadrant of this scenario here. But at any given time, in any given context, we might find ourselves partially and petrified, perpetuating performative from time to time while we're working toward the principled. Some of the keys here, the petrified organizations are kind of afraid and paralyzed of doing the wrong thing. They're kind of stuck in the place of fear and shame and very kind of self-focused. They might say things like, oh, we're listening and learning, having conversations, or being careful not to rush into things. And ultimately, this fear, it just supports the status quo and doesn't move the organization anywhere positive. And you see in the illustrations, just a person nervous about dropping into a quarter pipe. And performative is also fear motivated, even though it might be more active or intentional. Performative organizations are afraid of looking bad. We spring into action to protect the image. So it's kind of maintaining a surface level appearance of, doing the right thing, but what not really having the kind of bravery or courage to really dive in and shift the power dynamics or the internal culture. And it actually ends up supporting racism instead of disrupting it. And perpetuating is values motivated, but at the same time, so you say you're aligned with the principles and intersectionality, and you can kind of speak the language, but speaking that it's kind of theory, but not practice. So saying it, but not really doing it. And so just because your organization says you do this, or you work in this kind of field, you might be doing something in an NGO or a nonprofit or doing something human service related, but at the same time, that's not enough. Just because you're in that field. So maybe you would do something social work, but you're not actually working to engage people and to do anti-racism work on a human level. And sometimes people even use it as an excuse. Well, we're a nonprofit, we're doing good things, so we don't need to worry about that. We're inherently good by the nature of what we're doing. It just ends up being an excuse. So where we want to go is principled, values motivated, where organizations are willing to feel uncomfortable as they take anti-racist action in deep and tangible ways, staying accountable to Indigenous, Black, and racialized stakeholders and their experiences and priorities. And so some of this is a bit coming from, I would say, like a United States or Europe context. And I hope everyone coming from anywhere today will chime in on their own dynamics of the language that makes sense for where they're coming from and how it might be useful for people in other countries to learn from. United States and different parts of Europe all have kind of specific dynamics, and Canada, North America as well, that some of this is adjusted from programming that came out of Canada. But everybody, please feel free to chime in with things that are more rooted and organically coming out of your own context. And so in these kind of organizations where principle values motivated, you invite opportunities to share power instead of avoiding it. The next tool that we have is a skateboard ply tool. And so it's just kind of about getting deep into things and not just worrying about the surface and appearance. And it's important that everybody's involved. So it's not just the people who are at the top or running things or who are the public face that are supposed to be doing this. It's everybody from top to bottom that is involved with the organization should have some input, and you should be soliciting and trying to get their insights on any of these concerns. So it's just essentially all the different aspects of running an organization. So the most surface level is external communications, how you show yourself to the outside world, what appearance you try to keep up in some way, all the way down to the kind of deep culture and norms and unwritten rules that sometimes can just be almost unconscious and require extra effort to delve into. So each of these layers, so further down, each of the layers corresponds to a way that you can look at each of them specifically. So there's a layer, we have this kind of already templated out for you, and you can just kind of set it up like this and work through it with your organization. So you'll have the layer. So this one is hiring, for instance. So what have we done? What's working? And what do we need to change? So things you have done previously, and whether or not they worked, and what seems to be working, and then what needs some work and needs to change. Making sure that you're getting insights and advice from every level involved. And then there's a really great set of kind of hyperlinks that correspond to each layer specifically, that can kind of give you a jump off point, a reference for how to kind of think about these things and talk about them with current research from people invested in these ideas. I think the hyperlinks are really great, actually. And then you'll see here the layer name. What have we done? What's working? It's just different ways to kind of work through it. So that's just the basics of the assessment tool that we've come up with. We hope that people actually engage with it. You might just want to like go through it yourself and then kind of share it with some of your colleagues or people that you work with in your organizations, or in your house even. Sometimes these things translate from the personal to the workplace as well. That's pretty much all we have for that at this time. I think next we'll move into the actual guests that we have with us today. And so I'll just kind of introduce them right now, all three, and then individually they can present a little bit on some topics that they've come to address today as well. So first we have Susie Halsell. She's the founder of the skate NGO Bangladesh Street Kids Aid. And today she's offered to speak about her experiences of privilege and allyship. Everyone give a warm welcome to Susie, who's coming from Bangladesh today. And Mr. Alberto Santos is a psychologist and works with skate NGO Love CT, which is also a past PAR Fund grantee. And he's offered to share how their organization has been addressing racism in Brazil. Welcome, Alberto. Thank you so much for your time, sir. And we also have Tim Van Asdonk, is a program director of the skate NGO Concrete Jungle Foundation, which has built skate parks and run skate programs in several countries worldwide. He's offered to speak about their recent organizational changes to redirect power and money from the international level to local partners. And so at this time, I will hand over the floor to Susie to discuss Bangladesh Street Kids Aid and some of her maybe personal experiences as well.
Right on. Let me just get my screen shared here. Again, here we go. Okay. Cool. All right. Oops, that's my last slide. Gave it away. Okay. For some reason, oh, there we go. That's my first slide. All right, so my name is Susie, and I'm here based in Bangladesh right now. So, yeah, I just want to tell you guys a little bit about our organization's experience with what was basically my experience with discrimination and all that, and then our journey to overcome that with anti-racism practices in our own organization and in my own life as well. So yeah, I am a skater girl from California, USA. And yeah, I traveled to Bangladesh way back in 2007. Just kind of wasn't doing much with my life at the time, really wanted to travel and see the world, and was really bored with school out of high school. And yeah, I had a really cool gang of skateboarder friends when I was like 12 years old. I was the only like female in the group and one of the only people like not of color in the group. Sorry, I don't like all the terminology around people of color and all that, but yeah, it's the best way to describe it. But yeah, I had that solid group of friends. Then I went into high school and it was kind of like way less diverse. I was studying in like a private Catholic school that was probably 99% white. And yeah, so got bored with mostly my friend circles and the sports in high school. And right after high school, went right back to skateboarding and right back to the really cool friends. And yeah, then I found this organization called Surfing the Nations, and they invited me to come to Bangladesh to build some skate parks, and ended up being more of like a missionary kind of, I don't know, pushing Christianity on people kind of a tour. And I was like, okay, that's not what I want to do. So at that time, I also saw the kids on the streets, and I was like, holy smokes, these kids really need a lot of help, and they would would basically follow me around all day, even though I wasn't doing much, just skating around and checking out the sights. And yeah, they just didn't have much to do, and they literally loved my skateboard, kept taking it from me the entire time I was in the country for a month. So, and yeah, they were super good at it right off the bat. And even since I was like 12 years old, I had this thought in my mind, um, like I wanted to bring the joy of skateboarding to like kids that, don't have much, I guess. Like even my family wasn't that well off, but I knew like I had a good childhood and all that, and I wanted to share that with kids. And yeah, at the time I thought like, oh, Africa. And I thought Africa was a country at the time. Like Africa is probably a good place. I could probably do this. And yeah, I ended up in Bangladesh, had no idea about the poverty here. And I was 21 at the time, so like, yeah, pretty young still. And yeah, it just kind of blew my mind, and it kept me coming back here, helping the kids, trying to reach out to them through my skateboarding programs, and then also like combining that with like aid, like food and educational programs, just super informal. Then I ended up, yeah, full on having this vision to build skate parks in the country and shelters for the kids as well. And yeah, that led me to establish Bangladesh Street Kids Aid. And after that, I realized I was very incompetent as somebody to lead an organization. I hadn't, done any undergrad whatsoever at that point. So I went back to school and I studied at Antioch University, which it's all over the US, but yeah, it's mostly online classes nowadays. And they have a very strong focus on social justice. So that's what really caught my attention about the school. And yeah, I even studied 1 year in Bangladesh. I studied anthropology because I wanted to get their perspective on international relations and all that. I studied the Bangla language so I could get to really understand their culture and actually be able to communicate with the kids. So yeah, and then Antioch really taught me about, yeah, we had this one course that was called social justice. And within that course, they had a whole week of just white privilege was the subject. So that was like the first time I really looked at myself in that perspective, like both at home, the neighborhood I grew up, my opportunities throughout life. Yeah, just everything that was really easy for me, not so easy for others. And then also in Bangladesh, just being a foreigner here is like insane. Like you get treated like royalty or like a celebrity. I feel like I'm Michael Jackson showing up here. Everybody wants to take a picture with me and all that. So it's kind of, it was shocking to me. And then seeing the way the kids on the streets were treated versus foreigners in the country. And then even just people of, mid-class status, how they treat the kids that are on the streets. It was, yeah, pretty traumatizing for me. And I just thought, like, okay, so how can our organization change this in the long run? And so, yeah, that's enough about me now. This is what our organization is doing. So our kids that are growing up in our programs are now becoming staff members because we noticed over the years that the staff we were hiring were kind of just proliferating. That's like the classist divide. It's not necessarily racism, but it's classism here. Like in India, they have the caste system. In Bangladesh, it's more like a caste system where, yeah, people that have less are literally treated like, you know, they have no value. So, yeah. People that we were hiring that had educational, you know, they had a good resume, whatnot, but they did not have the heart for the work. And so slowly but surely, we're seeing like all of our staff are becoming our kids that are growing up in our programs. Yeah. And skateboarding is a powerful tool, like a powerful anti-racist tool in and of itself, because it brings people like of all different communities together, no matter what. But yeah, here it's even more so because you have this huge, yeah, just the division of between the classes, and to see people skating with our kids, see our kids skating at like the national stadium and actually winning awards and doing really good at skateboarding and hopefully becoming national coaches, national athletes. Um, it's really cool to see. After they were just like, you know, at the very bottom of society, a lot of these kids we find roaming the streets, yeah, helping glue, not really up to much good, and just the time they're with us skating is like the only time they're doing something productive. So to see them now becoming staff and being productive all day long and like, yeah, um, just becoming amazing human beings is really cool. So yeah, we went from, yeah, it's always been local staff run, of course, and I've never even paid myself to the organization. We're like 99% all of our funding goes to programs, but it was going towards some staff salaries that like, staff that really were proliferating this classism. So yeah, slowly but surely we got rid of that, but now all of our funds are going towards our programs and then also these kids' salaries who are now coaches and social workers. So they're teaching skateboarding and they're also going out for street outreach and providing showers, hot meals, first aid, all this stuff for the kids that are on the street still. And they're excellent at it, like way better than any of our previous staff have been. And even like now I'm working for UNICEF Bangladesh and we use this referral system. It's called a child helpline. And the social workers that show up that come to check out the cases that we're reporting, same thing. They have no like interest whatsoever in the kids. They just want to keep a distance as if they're dirty. So yeah, we're hoping in the future our kids will be the ones that answer the phone. Yeah, when you call the hotline, and they can work for the government and the Department of Social Services, or they can be skate coaches, or they can, you know, learn to run their own business because they're going through everything with us, like as far as like learning reporting, budgeting, yeah, just how to talk to people, how to tell their own story, how to type. Today we learned how to lay concrete in the cracks in the skate park together. So yeah, that is what we're doing. And yeah, I just wanted to highlight part of the tool. It's really cool. Like Kyle said, those links in the like towards the last page of resources there. I don't know why the screen's kind of cut off. But yeah, there's a little section with a bunch of really cool links. And I found this quote here that was in one of these links about funding and can we agree on the definition of equity? And yeah, so it says equity is about ensuring the communities most affected by injustice get the most money to lead in the fight to address that injustice. And if that means we break the rules to make that happen, then that's what we do. So yeah, I think it would be awesome if, you know, UNICEF would break the rule that you have to have a bachelor's degree to be a social worker in Bangladesh. Yeah, I think, oh, does Talia have a question or was that a clap? Clap, okay, cool. Yeah, so these layers are like super in depth. It's so amazing how this is broken down like that. BSK was kind of built on the idea of empowering marginalized youth, so it was kind of a natural progression for us, but other organizations you might have like to really think about what you're doing and how it might be affecting people either in positive ways or negative ways. But yeah, check out this resource. Thanks, guys. I'll hand it over to, I think, Alberto next. Cool.
Well, nice to hear. Nice to hear you and know about what you do in Bangladesh. I think always our histories about social skateboarding services or institutions teach something to us. Well, but before talking about this, I will presenting myself. My name is Albert. I'm 38 years old, a skateboarder since 1998, a psychologist, and I have a master in psychology from the Pontifical Catholic University of São Paulo. I had a scholarship from ProUni, a program from the government who gave the chance to peripheral people to get higher institutions in studying development. So I since 2014, I work with social projects, and in the last 3 or 4 years, almost 4 years, working with Love City, Inclusion and Rescue. Love City, Inclusão e Resgate. Uh, well, I think when we talk about organizational anti-racist practices, I think we also talk about the effects of racism in many other areas of our development and these consequences in our lives as professionals and in the workplace. Also, when we talk about a DIY organizational anti-racist themes, we talk about what life histories permeate any DIY thing. Love CT begins its history by dealing with racism in many ways. At first, we were just a few skateboarders realizing that the California skateboarding dream wasn't for us. We were from the hood, we were from the outskirts of our city. Even going to downtown was difficult because the distance, lack of money for tickets, and food for the day. So, in this scenario, we decided to bring our own skateboarding dream to our neighborhood. I say we because I came from the same reality as the founders of Love CT. Even though I started to work with them in the last 3 or 4, almost 4 years, I'm from the far western outskirts and they are from the far eastern outskirts. We had the same difficulties in skateboarding and get access to good places to share to get to skating to be with our friends and this similarity of our histories is what made our bonds stronger to the point that that today I'm the member of the collective's board. Those years exploring places to skate in Cidade Tiradentes, our neighborhood, resulted in the collective's first move called Revolução Periférica or Peripheral Revolution. Why this name? Peripheral Revolution because this movement that we made to bring to our daily a skateboarding that are related for what we want. We explored too much our neighborhood in this time. This movie was a milestone in the love of in the history of the Love City. Several professional skateboarders who were in this film, are references for professional skateboarding and for skateboarders who are also from the outskirts. Um, uh, a few time ago, after that, our neighborhood started to coming to us talking about offering skateboarding lessons to young people and giving them a chance to do different things. So we started, even though we didn't know how to name it very clearly. Uh, by this, our anti-racist practices emerged organically, and it was related to our own needs. After all, our work proposal spread. We formed partnerships with schools in the neighborhood. Education departments offered support to us. Today, our headquarters is old police base that was abandoned after shootings by the organized crime from the area. This is a strong point. We we occupied a place that before was a place of control in our neighborhood, the government control. There were several situations that required us to learn about the most varied forms of racism, those that are recognized and easy to identify, but beyond that, there are another questions that arise. What about those forms of racism that are refined and veiled? How to identify and deal with them? We spent several years refining these learnings. Today, we practice not only a form of anti-racist work, but also a way to heal the scars of racism in our confidence as social cause workers and also as skateboarders. So I think this is a main point about what Love CT DIY organizational anti-racism is. How we build trust and safety among ourselves in our institutional day-to-day. I say that because after year after year of being frustrated with people, we learned to shield our environment for these racist practices that happens in an organizational environment. We learned what racist practice, we learned what racist practices we sometimes practiced without realizing it. Due to structural racism we were raised with, even though we were Black people. How we deal with and heal these pains and scars is crucial to be a strong NGO. So when we are relating with ourselves and our children, we have to identify what pains and scars are happening internally every day when we got challenged. So when we identify this, we can name and we can work in this with I lost the word, with empathy. We have a strong conception of empathy beyond ourselves. We respect and encourage protagonism in the conduct of actions and ideas, and we always talk about the strength of each person of our team in our routine. Well, I say this because this protagonism was gradually weakened in other racist works environment that each of us has been in. When we go to other institutions to talk about what we do, we always talk about our strengths as a group and why each person is important in this strength. I say that because racism is something that always improves over time, and new forms of racism ours emerge, especially the more subtle ones. For example, here in Brazil, until recently, and still very common today, we deal with structural racism in the funding systems for social work. The people who analyze projects and sign the authorization for funding are almost ours, and for the most part, white people. Dealing with this factor on a daily basis also requires constant reflection on how racism presents itself. When white people decide to decide uh, when white people decide and evaluate whether our needs are important or relevant to them, we are dealing with a false emancipation. This scenario very slowly begins to change when educated Black, indigenous, and peripheral people begin to reach these positions and also write good projects. This, in a way, also reflects on the way we hire people. In your case, over the years, the people who walked with us and are also peripheral began to have access to education, and today it's a kind of natural to have services, relationships, and hire Black and peripheral people in our reality. When we do not have these people for something specific, we try to verify whether this person, in fact, makes an effort to be really anti-racist. Uh, Sometimes people say, oh, okay, I'm anti-racist, but is on the first page. When we go to the second page, they show behaviors, they speak something that show to us and make us doubt about how much anti-racist this person or these institutions is really being. Um, Another important movie talking about a anti-racist practice. We do not allow just someone to be present in our environment, into our work and service routine. For many years, I think it's happened in several social projects. People would come to visit our space and just take photos that they needed to post on their social media, and then never come back anymore. Today, for people to have a certain voice and space here, they have to make the effort to come to where we are. If you want to know about more Love City, come to us, get to know our reality of distance from downtown and difficult of public transportation to get here. See where we are located and what reality our children live in. So, in a way, over the years, we have been building a reality that for some seemed like utopia. For example, our Pushing Against Racism project, which won the second call for a proposal, was about Afrofuturism, a utopia that we have made a reality in our context. I mean, if we have conditions, we can make what they call utopia in our reality. When we talk about anti-racism practices, uh, some time ago, this looks like a utopia, but with conditions and people really committed with this, we can bring this to reality. And of course, upon a deeper analysis and discussion, some points of reflections have emerged in our collective. Sometimes when we are a little tired for the or for the our routine, we talk about it's not our role to teach white people what anti-racism is. Of course, it's our role too, but sometimes we are so busy trying to rescue ourselves, rescue those who are on our side and our children and teenagers, that we get a little tired about explain and explain and explain what a anti-racism is. So it's very important to see here that we discuss and strive to understand how implement and structure a anti-racist practice in a solid way. This shows to us, I think, commitment. That's what we need. We need commitment. We need people who are really striving to bring to the surface that kind of problem in which a few people have courage to talk about, few people have courage to confront in many environments. What we talk about prevent racism in a organizational level is powerful. We must identify these points and show to racists what are the behaviors that we need to be put in actions. Of course, as I said, if we are invited to discuss this topic, we will do, but internally, we don't have space for racism anymore. We are occupied trying to empowering ourselves, and by this, showing example for our kids and for teenagers how they can empowering themselves too. Uh, well, at least I would say that in when we have uh, a proposal, a described proposal of how institutions can confront racism, we have this on one side, and the other side, we have these effects. How institutions heal and deal the effects of racism and how they empowering themselves for a daily routine that are more aligned what with they really want to do and not just only searching for heal scars of things that they has uh, no fault in this. And so I think is that I don't even know if I was very clearly in my speech. I wrote something here in the word just to verify that what I was talking what I want to say. And I hope this contribute in any way to that discussion.
Next, we have Tim. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Kyle, and thanks, Alberto, and thanks, Susie. It's been really interesting to listen to you. All right, I'm Tim. I'm the programs director of Concrete Jungle Foundation. Well, very quickly about myself, I'm from the Netherlands. I studied pedagogical sciences, and after that, childhood education and socialization. And I really wanted to focus on how sports can be used to support or stimulate positive youth development. And since I've been a skateboarder for it's been 16, 17 years now, of course, my angle was going to be how in specific can you use skateboarding as a personal development tool. From here, I will go into the work of CGF, because that is the topic of what I will talk about the organizational change that we have made this year to redirect power and funds from the international level of our organization to our local partner. And I will do that to sort of talk through the process of how our organization came to be, how it developed, and how we got to this point, which has been a very big step for us to be able to take this year. Concrete Jungle Foundation, we're an international nonprofit organization. We run youth development programs in underprivileged communities in different places around the world, as well as we build the skate parks where these programs take place with the local community. So we provide paid apprenticeship to learn skate park construction, because often in the places where we build, this knowledge is not available. And afterwards, we provide employment opportunities for the local scene, for the local skateboarders to be able to manage the skate park and run these youth programs. Yes, next slide, please. Thanks, Rhiannon. So, well, it all starts with building the skate park. And I would love to sort of kick off with our very first project in Peru, where we really weren't quite sure what we wanted to do. I say we, but at this point, it was me and two other people that were all in sort of a search for what they wanted to do. From my perspective, it was being able to use these ideas and this knowledge that I had tried to gain during my studies to be able to use skateboarding for youth development. And for the two other people that I met when this first project took place, it was a bit of a different angle. They were at that moment already in Peru, and they were at another, it was not necessarily a skate NGO or a skate organization, but it was an international volunteering organization, let's say, that had a little skate park. And the approach of this organization was very volunteerism based. The organization could run because the money that came in was fully based on how many volunteers there were. So there were a lot of volunteers coming with this organization, not necessarily with specific capabilities. So this ended up to a bit of a disappointing experience for them, because at this skate park there were often these volunteers that were there and not very motivated to be there, and it wasn't really something developing or growing in the skate park or an attractive place for kids to go, because there was not really something happening or not motivated people there. So they had this idea. We see a lot more potential in what a skate park can do. We will try to build one ourselves, which they did in a local school in a well, very far out area of the city. And that's where I came in to start running the program as part of the school. So children in the school could choose either physical education or skateboarding. And as part of their school day, they would have the skateboarding classes at the skate park at the start with just me. And for me, that presented an opportunity to try to see how I could organize different ways and activities to work on different life skills through skateboarding, which was what I really wanted to do. But this also sort of started to form the foundation of what Concrete Jungle Foundation was going to be, because as time went on, the project started to develop a little bit. Like there was no budget or anything, but we saw that the children were very excited, and at the start it was just during school hours that they had their classes, but they were asking a lot if we could skate more. So at some point, the director of the school gave me the keys to the school to open the school on the weekends. And in the weekends, we had a lovely little skate community that started to form. And at some point, a very important moment also, we started to have local skateboarders, older people. It was a primary school that wanted to come and support this this project, this idea of using skateboarding in some sort of educational way. All right, fast forward a little bit. A year later, we had a few local skateboarders that were very engaged in the project. And for us, the first big achievement as an organization was that after that year of me being there, that I could leave, that we had a local girl, Leila, who just finished her psychology studies and who really understood this sort of idea of what the project was about, to take over and to have a local organization pay her a salary to keep that project going. So that was for us, I think, sort of the basic structure of, wow, this is what we want to achieve. We have been able to not only build up this little skateboard community, but also been able to provide employment and leave it in the hands of the locals to further grow and continue. So with that sort of blueprint, from there on, we started to expand, because in the meantime, a lot of people, I guess, around the world had seen the project that we did in Peru, and we got a lot of requests of different places around the world of like, oh, we would love to do something positive through skateboarding in our community. Is there some way that you could come to do that with us? So in the next years, we went to Angola, we went to Jamaica to have a similar sort of idea of we come to build a skate park together with the local skateboarders. And that's where the apprenticeship program started to form. And afterwards, with the local youth center, have this place serve as a community place, because in a lot of these the places where we worked, there wasn't really a recreational space where kids could go, or a safe place that was supervised, and the skate park served as that. People could the kids could go there, they could skate, there was a positive environment, which the staff encouraged through, well, being there to supervise or to organize different sort of activities, skate classes, workshops, whatever it may be. A big part of this was that at this moment we were 3 projects deep, that it started to become a big organization on our side too, because we were still supporting them a lot with, okay, this and this and this is what you want, this is what you want to achieve. But there was a lot of learning to do on how to do that, basic things of like, okay, if I want to get funding, I need to be able to have something to present as funding, so I need to start reporting on our activities, and well, have a mail system in place, and make reports, being able to show what it is, what we are doing, what our mission is, what our vision is, etc., etc. We as an organization started to grow with these projects as well, and at this point we were able to provide a small salary for me and the 2 other people that were in the organization of Concrete Jungle Foundation. All right. Then a little bit further. Well, you can stay on this page, Rhiannon, thank you. A little bit further, we kept every year adding a project to the list, and our organization grew bigger. But as our organization grew, the projects that we did, they also grew in size. Let's say the project in Jamaica, it's a very big skate park with a youth center attached. There's a big team present to organize a lot of different things. Same in Peru, the organization, the local team grew a lot. There was a lot to coordinate, there was a lot to do. And in 2022, we added a project in Morocco. So it was a more to manage, let's say, than that very simple first project in Alto Trujillo, where it was a very small skate park inside of a school, and it was much more controlled to manage, let's say. It became really a thing of having local teams to well, grow and implement all sorts of different activities and ideas. But our goal was still the same, of trying to work towards having these local teams work towards well, their own self-sustainability. This has been a big process, because with these bigger teams, there also comes with a lot bigger budget, a lot more organization. So we saw like, okay, it's going slowly, step by step. But we were still in the background supporting a lot with well, making things work, let's say. Yeah, can we go to the next sheet? So I think we can scroll through this. This is a little bit of what I explained earlier. What we do with older people, we have apprenticeship program in construction, local employment after the skate park is built. With the youth, we have the EduSkate program, our skate classes, but also a range of different activities, which very much depends on the location, what they want to do, what needs are there in those communities that the local staff wants to address. So this can range from homework programs to girl sessions to all sorts of different workshops, a lot of different things. The next sheet is sort of where I want to end up, which is the cycle that I try to explain what we try to achieve of starting with the infrastructure of a skate park, building that together with the community that wants to do something positive through skateboarding, develop the local team, support them in what they want to do and being able to eventually do that themselves, with the goals of being locally registered as an organization, to run everything, all the operations themselves, and eventually be locally funded. And before that meant going to a new location. I'll take a quick sip of water. At the start of this year, what the change was in our organization was that since we saw that with all of our projects, with some of them it had taken a bit longer, some of them a bit shorter, we saw that at least the first two goals were met. They were all locally registered organizations, their own entities. They were all running the operations themselves without too much of our support. The funding remains a tricky one, but at least with one of them, they had been able to fully fund themselves. So seeing this, we had sort of a choice. Like, we see also the more that the responsibility they can take on, the more they can do, the less there is for us, which is a great thing for the goal that we want to achieve. So after a lot of discussion last year, we decided that with the local teams as well as with the international team, we decided that, okay, we are at the start of 2024, we are going to make the change. We are going to cut the international staff out of Concrete Jungle Foundation and leave all the responsibility, all the power and the funds that come in through CGF with the local teams. So this means that, well, like I mentioned, one of the projects, they are fully funding themselves. So there's really no dependence in any way, like they're financially independent, and the rest was already there. With the other projects that still have the need to have support with funding, we still support them through grants that they manage themselves. And it's been a very, how do you say that? A very sort of scary thing maybe to let go, because we built together for all these years towards this point, and then when that's finally there, is it going to work or not? That could also be the case. And it's very interesting to see that in the different projects it works out a little bit differently, but in all of them the sort of basis of what brought us together makes it work in the end, which is the intrinsic motivation to try to do something positive through skateboarding. So for example, the picture at the top is the team in Morocco, where I live. I'm not really working in any sense anymore. The local team manages it, but I very much appreciate the space there. So I stayed living there, and they worked together as a team. In Peru, that meant that they couldn't really find a common vision and mission of what they want to do as an organization. So it's more individual projects that they all implement and do and get funding for. The picture at the bottom is our team in Jamaica that is doing things themselves. I guess sort of to round this up, the conclusion of it was that it was a very big step to take because it's something that we've been working towards for a long time. But it's been going great so far. We're over halfway the year, and it's working out it's really good to see what happens when all of the responsibility, the funding, etc., is in their hands, and for them to manage and to see that that works well. I guess that's it for my part.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Susie. Thank you, Alberto. Thank you very much. At this point, we'll probably just open it up to questions. I had some prepared, but I'd rather just toss those out and open it up. We have a wealth of experience and insight from all over the world on the call. I see we have Nigeria, Uruguay, Macedonia, Brazil, Montreal, France, Minneapolis, United States, all over the place. I will just kind of propose a couple of themes maybe that I've seen so far that have all three of the speakers kind of came to on their own as maybe reference points for comments and questions. The idea of organic processes within the organizations, letting things develop as locally and organically as possible, not imposing something from experts from somewhere else that don't necessarily understand or identify with the actual population. And I really like the language of peripheral revolution. I think people can maybe identify with that on their own terms. Even myself, growing up in Iowa in the United States, it's not necessarily like a place most people have any conception of. They just make jokes about flying over it. We, tried to make our own little peripheral revolution on our own terms. So if anyone would like to pose any questions or share their own experiences with their own organizations, wherever they might be, this is the time to do so. We had scheduled about 20 more minutes or so. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, anybody feel free to chime in at this point. And if it gets disorganized, we'll figure something out. But otherwise, just go ahead and start speaking if you want to. And if no one does, I will I have some questions.
Hi, this is AJ. Yes, sorry. First, the question I want to ask is, how do we get more projects going on across the nation? I just heard about Concrete Jungle, but I don't know how much more projects they're willing to take on. And regarding the organization down here, yeah, it's I'll say local politics and stuff that's been ongoing for the most part. Having to deal with people who don't understand the context or the concept of creating opportunities for younger folks to explore. Football has been a challenge. Basketball has been a challenge, all of the sports. And at least for me, I'm advocating for this area of sport not to become a problem like all the other avenues that we've explored. But yeah, I'm hoping to get more support and insights from the likes of experts like you. And yeah, I think that's what I wanted to add on this side.
Sir, if possible, I know you had mentioned, I believe in the chat, I could be mistaken, that you are involved with your own organization, correct?
Yes, so I'm the founder and the
So can you reflect a little bit on your experiences yourself as well, and what you've seen, and what's worked, what hasn't, that kind of thing?
I kind of gave an abridged version. That's what I just did. So, but yeah, for further context, I'm a creative, so I'm able to work out what's the word, like a strategy of what could be in a sense. But at the same time, I try to engage with the community. However, being that there are individuals who are more active or energetic, or they want to be famous, so to speak, or make money off of some expression, they are ahead or in the limelight and whatnot. So it's been a challenge trying to communicate the importance of the sport and how they can navigate such that it appeals investors or whomever wants to actually support. Because one thing for most of us here is we see an opportunity, and the only thing that rings in our head is how much money we can make from it, as opposed to the impacts that we can, have in the younger generation or the next generation to come, in a sense, and stuff. So it's just a bit of a mess, but we're figuring it out one way or the other. And I've also kind of like found ways, or at least I'm working on that, to create a hybrid where like other plans or industries are able to integrate with extreme sports, or skateboarding, BMXing, rollerblading, like I said. So it gives kids more opportunity to learn these things and then maybe find a career in that as they grow older. So it benefits them as a means of livelihood or something in that regard. So yeah, that's pretty much how things are at. Although it's been a financial challenge having to operate, because as an individual, I'm doing this on my own. Getting volunteers is being a problem because people don't understand it again, and everybody's just like trying to do their own thing for themselves as opposed to building as a collective. So yeah, still figuring it out, so to speak. I think that's about it.
So I can speak a little bit on that
yes.
if you guys don't mind. So yeah, we have a lot of the same issues here in Bangladesh. Like the local politics are insane. People see gathering skateboards as like some kind of political power, and they have their own club and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, yeah, it's just something you got to deal with, and just stay true to what you love doing, and like keep running your programs the way you do it, and hopefully that'll prove for themselves, like to whoever notices you. Hopefully it's somebody who can provide funding or a space or something for you. But I mean, yeah, I just gotta kind of ignore that local politic kind of stuff and just move forward and prove for yourself through your programs and the impact it's making on the kids. Maybe even try and join up with like a existing NGO and offer the kids there serving some skate lessons, like on top of what they're already doing, because they already have funding for stuff. Yeah, those are just some ideas.
Thank you so much. You mentioned space. I currently have an opportunity for that, but it's having to like build another skate park because we have Red Bull, has built one for us in Lagos. But we need more in Nigeria, so like more kids in different locations can be able to get more opportunities to learn this. But yeah, it's a work in progress, figuring it out. But thank you for the channel.
Anybody else who hasn't spoken yet that kind of make you think about something you maybe want to chime in on?
I have something to share. You can all hear me. I can really appreciate what you're all doing, but especially those who are investing in the space creation. I really like that because, and this isn't so much of a question, it's more of an observation maybe, or a bit of a accolades for those of you who are building those places, the places where skateboarders individually come together and form community, is really where they find recognition and where they are rewarded for their charitable treatment, both for themselves and their own skill development in skating, and challenging themselves and being rewarded for that. They get recognition at the skate parks for that effort, but then also together collectively where they can address policy, local policy and practice, and have their community recognized by their larger situation, cultural situation. And I just think that it's that place that is sort of the linchpin for the whole mechanism. And so I really appreciate all of you who are investing in creating those gathering places. That's awesome.
Okay, I did see a couple hands raised. Rihanna, and correct me if I'm wrong, I did see Close Call had their hand raised, and I don't know if I missed anyone else, but Close Call, if you're ready to go, go ahead and introduce yourself and pose your comment or question. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Julius and I run the Close Call community-based organization in Kenya. It's a new community that's growing and we have some of the projects that we want to accomplish in the community, like a skate park project. And recently I had an agreement with some of my friends from the Grand Line Skate Park International that is in the US. And I had written to them a proposal or a request to help in building the skate park, and they said they can help with the design. And I went to reach the local government authorities to ask them if they can support, maybe by giving us land to build the skate park, or they can also put a hand in supporting, because it's going to be beneficial to the community and everyone at large. So the time that we were making an agreement, so there's something that they said, like, maybe we create something like a joint account with the local government authority. To me, that was a red flag, because I felt like, why would you have to do that? And you are supposed just to give a helping hand, not supposed to be anywhere in between the communication that you're making with the guys who want to come and help in designing the skate park. And mostly in the African communities, or maybe the African countries, the local government authorities, they usually want to take advantage of such opportunities. Like let me just quote it, like, in Africa, corruption is at a high rate and it comes from our leaders. And to us, young pioneers who have the vision in skateboarding has been an inspiration to us. We feel like if we want to take this step, it can become, the government might take advantage of that. Maybe the skate park is complete, they gave you the land, and they can come and reclaim the land, that these are public land. And that's how we lose the skate park as the skateboarders. So maybe what advice or maybe what procedure should we take if you want to have the step of making a skate park, maybe on behalf of the organization, the community-based organization that we're having, or the NGOs? That's my question that I wanted to point it out.
Okay, I see Intrinsic Arts also has their hand raised, but before we go there, any of the panelists have a response possibly for close call?
I have a question. My question would be: do you think it is a sincere gesture that as you mentioned, the local government wanted to support with anything, or do you think that was only as what you mentioned, a possible way to profit from this opportunity?
Based on my mind, first of all, when we're going to request for the land, we have to pitch our ideas on what we have as a community, or maybe what is our objective with the community, and some of the advantages that the community is going to get when we have the skate park in the community. And from there is where they see if there's an opportunity there, or it's just like a normal project that you want to put in place. We as skaters, we understand the importance of having a skate park in our community.
Because I don't know if this is a suggestion that would align with what you're looking for, but we've had a few times that it was very difficult to secure a piece of public land with the conditions that we were looking for. So not a contract where after 2 years, as you mentioned, the local government can claim this space. So with quite a few of our projects, we ended up building on private land, either through somebody that already owned the land, or buying a piece of land to sort of not get entangled into that possible mess of corruption or bureaucracy, where they can reclaim something that's, well, was promised to you.
Can I make a comment real quick? So we're doing pretty much the exact same thing here in Bangladesh for UNICEF. They've hired me to secure land for skate parks, 10 of them across the country. So I know what you mean, going into those government offices, or with all the corruption and all that goes on, is pretty intense, but I mean, there is a system for approaching these officials. And like, I've done it informally before I was working for UNICEF versus now knowing the process. It's like, yeah, you have to kind of do your research on like, who's your youth and sports ministry in which country are you in? And then also, do you have somebody who works under the youth and sports ministry who's in charge of granting land? And yeah, if there's funding available through your Olympic committee for skateboarding yet or not, you have to kind of do your research there and then approach it that way, I would say, because you're not going to get a piece of land without a letter from some sort of minister saying this person has been, hired to construct a skate park. They're the experts, and so on, and they need a land. Give them the land, and they'll give it to the person in charge of that area. Then it moves on from there. But yeah, you can always get appointments with these officials and walk in there informally, but it's not very useful if you don't do it. And yeah, I would just do some research on the policies and procedures if you have it online, or if not, yeah, use your connections with anybody you have in government and try and figure that out.
All right, intrinsic arts, if you're ready to go ahead. Just please introduce yourself and share your comment or question.
Thank you very much, Kyle. Good evening, everyone. Well, good evening from where I am in the world. My name is Lindani Mataure. I'm representing Zimbabwe Skateboarding Association. Sorry, I logged in with the wrong account. So just to comment on obviously what my brothers from Africa said, I think from Nigeria and Kenya. Yeah, look, corruption is pretty bad out here, but I do like this term about privatization, like potentially going to like a hotel. Like for us, the first small skate site we built in our country was in Chimanimani district, which is out in the rural areas, and we actually used like the local hotel as a space to build a skate park for the community to skate. So that's about that. But then my real comment really, I wanted just to give credit to Rhiannon and the Good Push Alliance for inviting us to be part of this Pushing Against Racism initiative. And from our perspective, it's quite interesting. It's an interesting challenge in terms of integrating the anti-racism message, because like traditionally, my country included, we have had, because we share a border with South Africa, which traditionally had a lot of racism, apartheid South Africa up to 1994. We got independence in 1980. So the idea of us having like minority groups being more, I guess I would say like Eastern, and from different sides of the world, it's almost like we're kind of localizing the message to preach almost like a message of like forgiveness and kind of like healing, because it's almost like the majority of people out here are like Black Africans. So it's an interesting take to also localize it on our side of the world and actually mix with the whole global initiative and how that fits in with different people and different people's cultural backgrounds to the message. I just found it interesting. It's just an interesting comment I just wanted to put out there to say I'm glad to be part of this platform and also being able to give different perspectives of racism from different sides of the world. Thanks.
Thank you very much for sharing your insights as well. Next up, we have Ariadna to speak about Cuba.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for letting me talk about Cuba. I am not living in Cuba right now. Since 1 year ago, I am like refugee in Uruguay, but still working for the skate in Cuba. Also here, I am future skating for the Committee of Skateboarding of Uruguay. From here, I am working close to people know about how is the skate in Cuba. It is illegal right now. It's not considered sport. Besides, skateboarding is in the Olympics right now. It's a sport that have a lot of visibility, help around the world. Cuba live skateboarding. Cuban skater live with donations. We don't have any support of government or interesting in help. They allow people for another countries bring to Cuba donation of accessories, skate, shoes, whatever. But sometimes they feel in the right to confiscate this donation too. Sometimes it's difficult for this boy inside the island. So I think I do all my best, giving visibility of these issues in Cuba, so people can share and have more interest in help, and maybe in a few years we can be working inside the island, doing a skate park. Cuba don't have skate park in any of the cities. Havana have 2 or 3 places that were like skate parks, but the most important that is Liberty City is building for the skaters, not for the government. Sometimes the government came and destroyed a part of the skate because it's illegal building there in this place. But we keep the skate park and we do these new places for skate. But we need some help for the Cuban skater. So I appreciate being here and listen to you. My English is not so good, so I hope you can understand me. I right there. Thank you.
Thank you. As a native English speaker, I understood you perfectly. At this point, I do see we have some people still looking to make further comments. I'm going to check in with Rhiannon to see if she needs to wrap this up, or if we can continue to go for those of us who may have time.
I think you can, if people want to stay and share, I think that's fine for another 15 minutes or whatever. And anyone who has to go can go. Yeah.
Sounds good to me. And anybody, I see Close Call has a hand raised again. Was there anybody else that hasn't spoken yet? Just to make sure. Okay, I do see someone who hasn't spoken just yet. Close Call, keep that in mind, please. But I do see someone who hasn't spoken yet. If they could chime in, I see Viriato Villa Boas. If you're ready to go.
Yeah, hi. So basically, thank you all for sharing your insights, and this was all invaluable knowledge because we don't get to interact with a lot of people from the exterior. We are based in Portugal, at the south of Portugal, and it's basically a touristy kind of section of it where the people who come to visit have a lot of money. The people who live here are quite impoverished. The way that we started working these issues of racism was that the skate park of my hometown in Faro was abandoned. It was pretty much just all used for drug dealing and drug usage and police violence, and very little skating was done there. So through the rehabilitation process of that physical and social space, we were able to actually start opening the doors of discussion, because Portugal is, I would say, 20 steps behind the US's consciousness regarding race, and even the UK, where I lived for 5 years during the Brexit era, where racism became very normalized and very open. So what we are doing here is that we basically have access we are doing a favor per se to town hall by actually rehabilitating and making a public space useful, and through that we are educating kids on the ground that suffer from a big amount of historic and institutional racism. So it hasn't exploded yet to the point of actually being a normalized talk because of Portugal's history with the discoveries and enslavement and all that kind of stuff. So we are actually triggering a step ahead this kind of discussion on the ground, where you, for instance, don't see African descendants actually eating in a restaurant, but you see them serving, or you don't see immigrants shopping next to you at a shopping mall, but you do see them at the storage unit for the public not to see them, and they live in peripheral cities or towns, as to be concealed from white people. So yeah, I do see skateboarding here as actually sparking some sort of discussions, and in a way that it has become liked and supported by political and public institutions, because we are actually doing a favor and we're replacing government as far as taking care of public spaces and people in poverty situations, etc., etc. So it's really good to actually hear from everyone else in the world, because I took a lot of input, especially from Brazil as well, as in how we actually can walk that tight line between actually pushing an agenda and making ourselves useful. So I just really want to thank everyone who's here, and especially Skatistan, for bringing us closer and making us, at least on our end, making us feel a little bit less alone. So this is just more an observation, and a big thank you for all of you that are actually sweating out there.
Great comments and insights. Thank you very much. Close call. You still there? Going once? Yes, go ahead.
To me, I wanted just to make a comment, or maybe a compliment. Like most in our communities, skateboarding, like growing in the interior part of Turkana, it's part of civilization, and we're also giving exposure to the community to know something called skateboarding. And I understand maybe some of the leaders in our organization, or maybe the leaders in the local government authority, they're not exposed to what skateboarding is more about. And you get at some point that's what maybe brings some form of racism, because in our communities we have different people raised on different cultural practices, and we have people who are still yet to learn more about civilization. Like we have people who cannot be able to speak English or Swahili, they just know the local language. And skateboarding is part of bringing civilization to the community. And some of the leaders, they hold the same character with the people who are trying to give the civilization. And some point, maybe you get someone from the local interior community who they have their cultural practices, trying skateboarding, and you get that feeling that you get maybe someone's tell you like, what are you doing? Some sort of things. It's just all about exposure. The same thing that is happening in Cuba. They're trying to create exposure, but people are taking it as they are being criticized for doing that.
Might I chime into that, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to give context to that story as well. When I think it was 5 years ago, when I was still in school, every time I'm riding my bike within the premises of the school, I'm always told this bike should not be ridden around. And it was a BMX bike. So for me, it's like, I don't understand why this can't be rode around the school premises. Cars driving, bikes driving. I'm trying to use the bike to just express myself when I'm not like, reading or preparing for school and stuff. But the feedback I kept getting was, we don't do this here. They're not familiar with it. So their response to it was just to discard it or seize the bike. And you maybe have to either go through punishment or have to pay to bail out your bike or skateboard and stuff like that, which was what led to, you know, me having to propose having a skate park, because that would also help. And then a lot of people tend to use the main roads, so like they hold on to vehicles and stuff to just create some form of publicity for the expressions and whatnot. But that has caused more harm than it has helped, you know, the community grow, because people have died. You know, there's, you know, scrutiny, and what the government does for the most part is continue to complain about what this represents, but never creating the avenue for it to be expressed in a sense. And it's just really annoying. But I mean, we're making progress, and we hope to make more of that. At least in Nigeria, it's looking positive.
Thank you. Not to go down the rabbit hole, but it reminded me of when I was a teenager, I got my board confiscated once by the cops, and they're like, yeah, you come back in like 2 weeks and we'll have it. It took like 4 months to actually get it back. Any other further questions from anyone who hasn't spoken? Or any closing comments from any of the panelists? Anything they kind of just want to leave off? Okay. I think we're about to ready to wrap it up. If you haven't signed the commitment, please do so. If you know anyone else who might find value in any of the Pushing Against Racism programming or events or anything, please let them know about it, spread the word. You can go to goodpush.org /anti-racism to see all the latest, or the Instagram. I think we had a great discussion, lots of sharing of really practical, usable insights and experiences, mixed with exchange of ideas from all over the world. And I think that's kind of what the point of this is. And I think we achieved that. I feel great about that. Let's see. I just want to leave a couple inspiring images I've seen this week. So at the end of my street, someone changed up the street sign. You've probably seen this before somewhere yourself, but they edited the street sign to have the person carrying a skateboard, and then they like put a little cutout of their own photograph, I think, on the head. And it was like some kids, I think, because it's by an elementary school. And so it was really cool. I was happy to see that spirit is still alive. Another thing I saw in The Guardian, they had a lot of pictures of the kind of anti-racist, anti-fascist protests in England right now. And I saw on more than one occasion people, you know, hoisting skateboards into the air. And now I found that really inspiring. And I think both of those keep the idea that we're still going in the right direction. All around the world, there's still people inspired to use skateboarding as a mode to get involved in doing what's right and fighting what's wrong. And I hope all of you found this valuable today. Any other further comments?
Thank you. Thank you for having us. And it's having me.
Thanks everybody for their time. Yes, go ahead, Alberto. What do you got?
One last thing.
Yes,
I was
it better be good.
I'm
It better be good.
Hearing about other realities, and so this is a huge challenge in other places and other countries, facing with corruption, without people to share these missions it's very difficult. And so now we know our reality, but when we go to see other realities, these show to us on what or how level this kind of meeting is important to share, to build, to discuss about how we can build something in skateboarding all over the world, and have to save people, have to save children, and build in a certain way a better world. Sometimes I get a little mad, a little angry because the lack of English words. So thanks for this. Thanks for the opportunity to talk, and most important, the opportunity to hear also. Thank you.
I think that's a perfect place to end it. Until next time, take care, everybody. Have a good one.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.